Hello, I'm Mrs. Nelson. It's good to see you again. Today I'm reading A Spoon for Every Bite by Joe Hayes, illustrated by Rebecca Leer. A long time ago, there was a poor couple who lived in a small tumble-down house. They were so poor that they owned only 2 spoons, one for the husband and one for the wife. Their neighbor, on the other hand, was very rich. His house was big and elegant and filled with fine furniture. He was very proud of his wealth and his possessions, and he lived in an extravagant way, meaning nothing was too good for him. Nothing was too expensive for him to buy if he thought he deserved to have it. One year, the poor couple had a baby, and when it was time to baptize the child, the wife said to her husband, "Why don't we ask our neighbor to be godfather to the baby?" "But he is rich, and we are poor," the man protested. "Why would he want to be our compadre?" That means our co-parent, our helping parent. "You never know," said the wife. "He might accept. Maybe somehow it will change our luck." So the poor man asked their rich neighbor to be the child's godfather, and the rich man accepted. They took the baby to the church to be baptized, and the neighbors became compadres. Now, a compadre is your co-parent. Like a comadre is a co-parent for mother, and compadre is a co-parent for father. I think of my fellow teachers as at Anthem in a way as comadres and compadres, because they help us do our best for all of you, which we're all doing right now. Onward and upward. The poor couple watched their baby grow rounder and more rosy-cheeked with each passing week, and their hearts swelled with feelings of abundance. Abundance means you have a lot. You have a lot. One day, the poor woman said to her husband, "Now that our neighbor is our compadre, I think we should invite him to eat supper with us this evening." But the man asked, "How can we do that? We only have 2 spoons." So they didn't invite the rich man for supper that day. Instead, they began to save their pennies until at last they could afford to buy a 3rd spoon. Then the poor man went to the rich man's house and invited his compadre to come to dinner. And here's that picture. You can tell I'm learning how to mirror my camera so that nothing looks backwards to you, but it keeps me moving the wrong way every time I try to show you a picture. This is an old dog learning some new tricks. The poor woman made a very tasty soup, and when the 2 men arrived, she sat the rich man at the place with the shiny new spoon. "This is your place, compadre," she said. "You get to use our 3rd spoon. We just bought it today." The rich man could scarcely believe what he had heard. "Do you mean to say that you own only 3 spoons?" he asked. "Oh, yes," the poor man told his compadre. "Until this morning we had only 2 spoons, but we bought a new one today so that you could join us for dinner." Here's a picture. I like his face looking down at the delicious soup. The rich man couldn't contain himself. He laughed out loud. "Who had only 2 spoons. And you bought a new one for me to eat with. Why, he boasted, I have so many spoons in my house, I could use a different one for each day of the year if I wished to. Look at that. That silly man laughing at their good intentions, their humbleness, and their simplicity, and their wanting to share. He's not being very compassionate or thoughtful, is he? The poor man was embarrassed and annoyed by his compadre's boastfulness. But the poor woman spoke right up in reply. That's nothing, compadre, she said. We have a friend in these parts who uses a different spoon for every bite he eats. He never uses the same spoon twice. The rich man waved his hand in disbelief, but the poor man gave his wife a knowing wink and swore that it was true. My wife is telling the truth, compadre, he said. Our friend uses a different spoon for every single bite he eats. The rich man was so upset by the idea that someone lived even more lavishly than he did that he could hardly eat his soup. Oh, proud people do not like to feel embarrassed or belittled or think that somebody else out there might be better off than they are. That night, he lay awake thinking about it. There he is. Oh, look at him. Look. I'm going to hold this really close so you can see his open eyes as he is fretting about his lack of spoons. The next day, the rich man's servant came running to the poor man's house. What did you give my master to eat last night? He demanded. The poor man shrugged. He ate the same thing we all ate. The tastiest soup my wife has ever made. Why do you ask? Your soup must have driven him crazy. This morning at breakfast, he insisted on using a different spoon for every bite. And after he took one bite from a spoon, he ordered me to get rid of it. The poor compadre laughed to himself. This was just the kind of thing he and his wife had hoped would happen. And what does your master tell you to do with the spoons you're ordered to get rid of? I asked what should be done with them, the servant replied, and my master laughed and said, Give them to my compadres. They have only 3 spoons. Here's that picture of the servant having his conversation with the poor man. At his noonday meal, the rich man did the same thing, and he did the same at dinner as well. That evening, the rich man's servant carried a pile of spoons to the poor couple's house and left them beside the door. The next day was no different. The rich man insisted on a new spoon for every bite. The same thing happened the following day and the day after. In less than a week, the servant informed the rich man that there were no more spoons left in the house. Get me some more, growled the rich man. Do you think I'm too poor to buy more spoons? His servant hurried to the store. When the rich man had used up all the spoons in town, the servant had to travel to stores in other towns. There he is. He looks dissatisfied. He is not happy. Soon, the rich man began selling his livestock. That would be his cattle, right? and his land, eek, just to buy more spoons. A mountain of spoons stood beside the poor couple's house. Look at it, it's taller than their roof. Do you think he's laughing, looking down at all of this? I don't know. May not be such a laughing matter. At the end of a year, the rich man had squandered, that's a word for wasted, all his wealth, and there were just 3 spoons in his house. He walked angrily, by now he's mad, to the poor couple's house and pounded on the door. Bum, 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 bum. "You lied to me," he roared when they opened it. "No one can use a new spoon for every bite he eats. I have proved it. I am the richest man for miles around, and not even I can use a spoon for only 1 bite." Look at there. There's his last empty little house. And there he is, angry at the door. Look at his clothes. He looks kind of grubby, and he looks very frustrated and upset. "No, compadre," said the poor man calmly. "You're mistaken. Our friend does just what we said." "That's right," added the poor woman. "Day in and day out, year in and year out, he uses a different spoon for every bite he takes." "Take me to meet this friend of yours," the rich man demanded. "He must be the wealthiest man in the world." The poor couple took their compadre to the nearby, now this says Indian, I would say Native American, right? Nearby Native American pueblo. They went to the house of the poor couple's friend. The Native American and his wife welcomed the compadres and invited them to stay and have a meal. "That's just what I came for," said the rich man. "I want you to show me how you use a new spoon for every bite." There they are. They're headed off to see the friend. There's the poor folks' house. There's the rich man. Just looks like he's shaking a pair of maracas, doesn't he? Instead, he's just shaking his anger and frustration. "Spoon?" asked the Native American. "This is the only spoon I use." He pointed to a stack of, and I bet you guessed it by now, tortillas on the table. "That's the spoon my people have used since the beginning of time." He broke off a piece of tortilla and scooped up some beans. The beans and the spoon disappeared into his mouth. Look at this face. Look at this funny face. My Spanish grandmother would have said, "Ay, que cara fea." What a funny, funny face. Fea also means ugly. I think greed might make people look a little unattractive, perhaps. "He'll never use that spoon again," laughed the poor man. Again, the rich man was too upset to eat his meal. He got up from the table and walked sadly home. Look at their baby. It's the first picture I've seen of their new baby. Look at the husband and wife looking at each other. They got the best of that rich man, didn't they? That a nice way to treat your compadre? I don't know. But the poor couple enjoyed every bite the Native American shared with them, spoon and all. And then they walked home smiling. They knew that when they had sold all the spoons their rich compadre had thrown away, they would live out their days in comfort. Well, that's the end end of that story. That poor rich man, he really got it. He didn't have a happy ending. If I were going to write an ending to this story, would I change what happened to the rich man? Or do you think that he deserves to be poor and unhappy for the rest of his life? Or maybe the rich man learns and makes some changes? I don't know. I would love to hear how you would change this story. Or maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you would leave it as it is. At any rate, I hope you have a great day, great evening, and I'll put up a new story soon. Take care. Thinking of you. Bye.